Get started. We got to go live. It's that time. You know what time it is. Anybody watch Good Mythical Morning? Anybody else? All right. Cool. So, cool. All right. So, welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how to understand the impact of vagus nerve stimulation on your sleep, how to track it, what kind of things to look for, and how to kind of do things with that. But before we officially jump into that, we're going to do the simultaneous squeeze, which is honestly amazing. So what we're going to do is take a big deep breath in, as deep as possible, and then you're going to take an extra sip of air at the top, more air than you think you can fit into your body. So it's going to be like and then you're going to hold it, and then you're going to squeeze it. Now, I've realized that some people don't know that they can hold their breath without having to pinch their nose. But if you do need to pinch your nose, because I'm a swimmer, I did swimming professionally. Well, I guess I did some I've done professional swimming. My mom was an Olympic swimmer, actually. Little thing. She was in Los Angeles when she was a kid. So I learned how to go underwater and not get water to go in my nose, but that took time. So I understand that if you have a hard time with the breath retention from the simultaneous squeeze, you might just squeeze your nose and just kind of put that pressure there. So let's give it a shot. All right. So simultaneous squeeze. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, and go. Breathe in. Sip of air at the top. Hold and squeeze. And slowly exhale through the mouth. Very good. Okay. So you should feel a markable shift between when we started this call and right now. And I really highly encourage you guys, if you're just watching this and missing out on that simultaneous squeeze, don't. It is like, people ask me all the time, how can I naturally stimulate my vagus nerve? That is it, you guys. Like, that is it. I'm giving you guys like the best, fastest, instantaneous way to stimulate your vagus nerve. You guys may not realize that, but I am doing that. So please do that with me anytime we do it if you haven't been in the past. And Joanne, you're right. Swimming is one of the best all-around exercises. One thing quickly before we go into the video, I did see a video. It was a study of the different types of sports that added longevity to on average to a person's lifespan, and they found that swimming added like something like 6 years. But I didn't know this. Racket-based sports like tennis or racquetball or wiffle ball or whatever, or even table tennis, added 9 years of lifespan to a person. And I think tennis is difficult because you can roll your ankles and you can really mess up your body. But I think like racquetball, if you have the ability to go try racquetball and you like it, that might be a good option. One of the other benefits that racquetball or tennis has is that it's full body range of motion. You're moving, but it's also, because it's an individual, but it's a multiplayer sport, there's a social aspect to it as well, which I believe that affects your parasympathetic vagus system, and that can extend your lifespan. And yeah, Joanne, you're totally right. That's why I'm like, tennis especially, a lot of pressure on your knees, a lot of pressure on your joints. But something like an indoor kind of just racquetball or pickleball, something like that, in just one of those arenas where you don't really have to move so much, that could be, explore it. I don't know a lot about these kinds of things. I did tennis a lot, but not a lot of other indoor tennis kind of things. So something to consider. That was a study done out of Denmark on I think they looked at 9,000 people. Racquetball-based sports, highest lifespan extension, right? Yeah, I think the social aspect is the longevity improving for sure. I mean, when I played tennis in Berkeley, when I was going to Berkeley, I had a tennis court in my backyard. I lived up in the Rose Garden area on Euclid and Eunice Street in Berkeley, California. And I got to play tennis often with people who founded Atari, like the people who created the entire 1960s, 1980s Silicon Valley spree all lived in the hills next to me. So I was playing tennis with some pretty connected dudes. So I definitely think that was a win. But anyway, once you're done playing tennis or swimming or doing whatever, or having a great social interaction, you're gonna want to go home and sleep. In today's video, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about understanding how vagus nerve stimulation, how it plays a role in facilitating deeper and better sleep. We're going to be looking at a little bit of a follow-up review of the sleep speaker after, I think a month of usage on my end. We did put this out a few weeks ago. I will be posting the links to this as well again if you haven't been able to download this. But this is pretty cool. This is a pretty remarkable little tool that does perform a form of vagus nerve stimulation through the ear, through vibration, haptic vibration. Vibrotactile stimulation of the vagus nerve through the ear is a really good option for inducing parasympathetic response, which is great for sleep. So this is one good option that's just pretty much available to anybody and everybody. Obviously, just the cost of the physical device that's there, but you'll see that later. So, let's get into it. Sleep is an essential aspect of our overall well-being, and its quality directly affects our physical and mental health. Many individuals struggle with sleep-related issues, such as insomnia or poor sleep quality. Raise your hand if you're like, yep, I've had those difficulties, right? If you're having really good sleep right now, that's awesome. Let's find ways to make sure that you stick with that. Because, life events can kind of throw off some of your sleep, so we got to be prepared for that. What do you do in those situations? So your sleep affects your daily life, obviously. Recent advancements in medical technology have introduced promising solutions like vagus nerve stimulation, or VNS. For those who have the ability to track their own heart rate variability, it might be or their general sleep quality through like an Oura ring or a Whoop or a Fitbit or you can get mattresses today that have sleep trackers built into it. I think there's something called the 8 sleep mattress, for instance. Some of these things are incorporating sleep tracking right into the mattress itself, which is pretty cool. So people who have the combination of being able to track their sleep quality and use VNS can see pretty substantial jumps up in those numbers. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's worthwhile. I think that's absolutely worth bringing attention to. So let's talk about what do I mean by the remarkable improvement in sleep quality? Joanne, I see your comment here. I require my students to watch Sleep is Your Superpower videos. Very informative. Yeah, totally. Like if you're trying to remember things, especially if you're a student, sleep is critical. You're not going to remember anything if you're not really optimizing for sleep. Great. Thank you. Good reminder for all of us adult students as well, lifelong learners. So one of the most fascinating aspects of vagus nerve stimulation, and in my observation with my clients, is its ability to provide marked improvements in sleep quality, oftentimes in their very first day of stimulation. Like, I'm not even kidding. I've seen people go from, I've actually had some clients who, as a combination of Lyme disease and then benzodiazepine damage, like double whammies, their sleep has deteriorated to the level of like 1 to 2 hours of sleep per night. And for some reason, they're still able to zombie get through the day, essentially, right? No disrespect to them, but you're not living at your fullest if you're getting 2 hours of sleep. You're just kind of getting through. You're just awake, right? Because your sympathetic system is just pumping adrenaline. But then what we see so quickly is that when they incorporate VNS, is that their sleep goes way up. Like not just the time, but also the quality of sleep. You can literally see it on an Oura ring, especially Oura ring is, I think, one of the cooler versions. There's a lot of other options now these days, though. I've assigned a lot of clients to. There are $50 sleep trackers you can get on Amazon too, if you know where to look. So, I believe that the immediate impact can be attributed to a unique feature of how VNS, or vagus nerve stimulation, increases the release of acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter. This is the molecular signature of acetylcholine, more or less, basically. That's what this light is. That's why I chose this pattern, is because it's the neurotransmitter of the vagus nerve. So now you know. Yeah, Joanne, you're right. Especially if you use it right before bed, and it is very sad to have that few amount or quality of sleep. So when you stimulate the vagus nerve, your body produces acetylcholine. Now, the German root word that came before acetylcholine was vagus stuff, Vagusstoff, I believe in German. And what that really meant was that when they were doing, not to get too graphic here, but just, I'm not going to get too gory with the picture here, but certain people have done an anatomical study of the vagus nerve in rodents, rats, mice, pigs, sheep, etc. And they've found the vagus nerve in the neck, and they've applied an electrical current to it. And the funny thing is, when you directly stimulate that nerve, it starts to release like oil seeping out of it. It's this white, clear liquid. And that is the fluid of the vagus nerve that is acetylcholine. So your vagus nerve literally pumps out like a fluid, a white, clear fluid with acetylcholine in it into the organs in your body. And the target area, so when you stimulate in the neck, you're getting a release of acetylcholine up and into your brain. So my background, the whole reason I'm here in this, like being able to speak to this, is my career started in brain stimulation with ultrasound. So my discipline was in applying focused pulsed ultrasound to the right prefrontal cortex and to the anterior cingulate cortex of the brain with pretty expensive equipment to stimulate brain activity. And it's amazing because vagus nerve stimulation is a shortcut right into your brain. So for me, the vagus nerve is a far better target for neuromodulation technology than, in my opinion, right? Some of my colleagues would maybe disagree, than trying to go directly through the skull. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but frequencies and the skull being really reflective of ultrasound, all those things play a role. But when it comes to ultrasound, focusing it on the vagus nerve is a really good combo. So anyway, when you do stimulate it in different parts of the body, brain, neck, spleen, body, and pancreas, you get a release of acetylcholine. That is what I believe is causing that calming effect, that relaxation response. Acetylcholine is like your body's natural analgesic. That's why when people are in pain, you typically see them like think about it. When a woman is going into labor, when a mother is going into labor, and she is breathing heavily, that's an attempt to activate the vagus nerve to release that vagus fluid into the body to cause an analgesic, pain relieving effect to calm the body down, right? Breathing is essential for that. So breathing is a great way to activate your parasympathetic system for sure. So that's what I do believe is the mechanism of why vagus nerve stimulation before bed, exactly, Joanne, right before bed, if you stimulate your vagus nerve, it can help put you into a really, really deep dream state. I almost kind of like to think of the vagus chemical as like fairy dust, like magical pixie dust, or they call it the Sandman, Mr. Sandman, dream me a dream. This kind of idea of the Sandman sprinkling something on your nervous system in your brain to calm you down, I think probably does kind of spawn a little bit from this actual real biological mechanism that you have. So I find that to be kind of fascinating. You do see a lot of those carryovers. One being when you're falling in love and you feel butterflies in your stomach. That's going to be your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is going to be acting and causing an emotional mood shift. That is actually a vagus nerve function, is the butterflies in your stomach. And, on the other hand, when you're really having a really tough emotion or something, you have emotion kind of sticking in your throat, in your vagus nerve region, around the voice box, in your recurrent laryngeal nerve right here, is they call it having a frog in your throat, right? That's another way that humans refer to a deeper biological function of the vagus nerve, but with a more common, cat got your tongue, frog in your throat, butterflies in your stomach, Mr. Sandman. There's lots of things in popular culture that do infer a vagus nerve system that we use, but we really, I think for the most part, we're just using it without understanding it, which hopefully through these videos we can change that. So let's talk about some techniques to help enhance vagus nerve stimulation. So if you want to maximize vagus nerve stimulation effects on sleep quality, you can use several techniques. One effective method that I found that you could do, if it's okay to do there, is potentially humming yourself to sleep. I've seen a lot of people use humming. I think humming classical music is really good. Like, it was kind of funny today. My wife was like, she's like, you should sit on the meditation pillow and start. She's like, try stretching your neck today. She just told me to do that. I was like, okay, cool. And then we started humming together, and I started teaching her how to sing and how to hum, and it was a nice experience because humming creates vibrations in the throat, and this in a way stimulates the vagus nerve. You know, humming and speaking really is sending signals through your vagus nerve to your voice box. So you do speak because of your vagus nerve. And this promotes relaxation, of course. Additionally, if you perform the Valsalva squeeze, which is the simultaneous squeeze that we do in the very beginning of this video, that can also drastically relax you. Basically, the Valsalva squeeze, in summary, is where you take a big, deep breath of air, you hold it in, you can hold your nose, and then try to squeeze the air out of your mouth, but holding it in. So it's like a kind of the thing they used to clear your ears on an airplane flight when you're landing, and your ears, you need to pop your ears. Something kind of similar to that. You can feel kind of that like, woo, like whoa, that euphoria feeling. And that can activate the vagus nerve and induce a state of calmness that is conducive to better sleep. So that's pretty cool. Don't we love that? Let's talk a little bit about using the sleep audio for enhanced results. So a few weeks ago, I produced a document on this particular option for people to enhance their sleep through VNS. So what is on this device? So let me just break down how this works. This is a physical device that you do need to purchase. I don't sell this. I don't have any association with the company. This is something that I found on Amazon that you can purchase on your own Amazon account. There's a little SD card in it that you can click in. I've got a little 16 gigabyte one. And you'll have to basically take an MP3 that has specifically selected music that is audio manipulated. That's where I came in. I do have a background in sound, ultrasound, but also in normal sound that you can hear, and modulating it through software. So I have some pretty powerful software and know-how to be able to select certain frequencies and bring out higher frequencies and make them amplified in software. You basically you bake that into an MP3 file, and then you upload that onto a website. And then what you can do on your end, if this is something that you want to try, is download that MP3 and then load it onto the sleep device, right? So that's how that works. Now, the sleep audio is a combination of really beautiful classical type of music, but all very much for the purpose of you sleeping. It also does include, going back up to something that Joanne said, is she teaches her students a lot about sleep. So if you're learning techniques, if you're learning things, if you're building skills, there's a certain way to go to sleep that allows you to retain more information in your brain. You guys would agree that I tend to know, I know how to retain a lot of information in my head. My brain is this spider web of information that goes like this, and I can very quickly access different concepts very quickly. You know, this allows me to go live on video every single day. for months and months and months and months and months at the same time. Talk about a range of subjects. This allows me to go in front of an audience of physicists and neuroscientists and doctors in San Diego and in front of engineers at UC San Diego and speak about a range of topics, about the effects that ultrasound has on the vagus nerve and how it affects acetylcholine and the enzymes regulating vagus nerve activity. You know, I'm able to pull from a vast array of knowledge to be able to speak to it. And if I weren't able to learn and retain and recall that information, I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. This would be very difficult, so to speak. So one of the techniques that I learned when I was in middle school, I'm really fortunate that here's how it happened. When I was a kid, I never went to bed at 9 p.m. I would actually usually stay up till about 1 a.m. And I had a little tiny CRT TV, like this big, like a 13-inch TV that had cable, but we didn't really have a lot of cable channels. We only had kind of like public access, you know, not like we didn't have a satellite. I never had DirecTV growing up. All my friends had DirecTV, but I never did. So the only things that were on at night were these late night programs, these sales infomercials, and I would watch them. You could probably tell that there's a syncopation to my language, to my words, to how I speak that sounds a little bit like somebody who's speaking from an infomercial. You might notice that. That's not by accident. That's literally just a result of lack of parental supervision at the early morning hours, that I would sneak and watch TV in my own private room with a little TV I would sneak up and turn on. So there was a number of programs you'd always see, like, you know, there's the ShamWow and there's the Slap Chop and there's the OxyClean products, and then there's Tony Robbins, and then there's this one program called Mega Memory. And Mega Memory made this sales pitch that you could develop a photographic memory, that you could remember any fact or figure or detail forever as long as you learned it in the right way. And it talked about this thing called basically a photographic visual memory system that you could learn yourself through an audio program. And so I would watch this. I saw it, I think, a couple times. It was a 30-minute presentation. It even talked about how to learn someone's name, meet them in person, see their face, shake their hand, hear their name once, and remember their name forever. Because what's one of the most embarrassing things is to have someone tell you what their name is and then to forget it, right? Like you don't want that on you. That's a social stigma you don't want. So for me, I must have been 11 or 12 years old at the time, I was like, I want this. This is a program that I want. So I scraped together $169 and I did the phone order, and I used my mom's credit card, and she's like, you're going to pay me back for this. I'm like, oh, I will work for it. This is important for me. And so we received a 10 cassette audio booklet called Mega Memory. Anybody else? Do you guys remember those infomercials for Mega Memory back in the late 1990s, early 2000s? Kevin Trudeau, these guys. Paul Sheely, photographic memory, photo reading. Crazy stuff, you know. Only the stuff you see at midnight and 1 a.m. on infomercials. So I did order this as a child, as a little preteen at 11 years old. And I bought it. I listened to it. I learned it. I studied it. I probably put more effort into learning this than my homework at the time. My homework was just, you know, bullshit math and whatever, biology. So, which I'm good at. But this is amazing. Like the promises of this were incredible. And what I learned is called a mnemonic memory system. Mnemonic, all that means is a Greek word for a device or a mechanism that helps you retain information through kind of a, like a saying or a syncopation or a pattern or a collection of words that you remember together. Sort of how we all know how to remember the primary colors. I know the term Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So I remember the name Roy, like a man named Roy G. Biv. And so that's a tool, that's a memory device that helps with your long-term memory. I don't think I'll ever forget that unless I know I'm hit in the head by a semi-truck, right? So that is the key aspect of what sleep does. Is sleep is the place where what you've learned in the day gets stored into long-term memory. So if you are not retaining information, probably there's a something not happening at nighttime. And I think that at any age, at any level of health, you can still learn some incredible stuff. You know, some of my peers, the pioneers, my advisors in my life, they've been 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. And these guys are sharp, men and women who are sharp as hell. And it's because they don't look at age as a deficit to retaining information, of learning. So what I do on the sleep audio is I basically just give you a quick 10-point lesson on the audio that basically gives away the secret of mega memory, where you don't have to, again, you don't have to buy the full $170 cassette tape. We probably don't even have cassette tapes anywhere anymore, right? So I've filtered in that whole training that I did at a young age, actually for one of those days where you do like a talent day. I got in front of the class and I memorized 30 items and I had them write them on the board, didn't look at them, and literally just recalled and spit them out randomly. They're like, what's 13? I was like, oh, it's a tin, like a tin can. Like 16, Gatling gun. I still remember that. And that was in 2000 and probably the year 2000. So 23 years ago. I still remember what number 16 was. It's a Gatling gun from that list. So you can have a really good memory. And I think that the key place where that is some of the things that block you from sleeping is just that aimless thinking thing. So if we can uniformly kind of orient our thinking right at sleep time into a process that's a device system for memory, all we do in the audio is just a simple, it's like a very slowly read, very quiet, like, just very sensual, calming, non-intrusive, just, okay, we're going to go to number 1, which is we're going to see yourself visually wearing a tie, a blue tie, a silk tie on your neck. That represents the number 1 position. Now, what I want you to do is review your day in order. What did you do? What was the first thing you did? What was the number 1 thing you did today? Usually that's waking up, getting out of bed. And so I want you to see visually, review your day in order according to the mnemonic system. And that's all in the documentation. That's all there. So that's all described. And so it's a specific process where you just do a review and account of your day. When I was a kid, my best friend, when I would sleep over at his house, mom and dad would come in. His mom and dad would come in to the bunk bedroom. I'd be on the top, he'd be on the bottom, and they'd say, what was one thing you could be really grateful for? They were like really spiritual hippie Christians from Ashland, Oregon. And these parents, like Eric and Lisa, they followed around the Grateful Dead in the 1980s. They probably did so much acid. But, again, people like that end up having children, settling down, growing families. But, they had some good ideas. So they would always ask us before bed, what are you grateful for? What's one magic moment of your day? I was like, that's kind of weird. My mom never asks me that when I go to sleep. She just lets me watch infomercials at 1 a.m. Okay. Different parenting styles, different folks, different strokes. I work in biomedical technology. He ended up, my friend Ian, I don't keep in touch with him at all, but I think he's working as like a manager at a restaurant in the same town. So I don't know, not going to make any meeting out of that, but different folks, different strokes, right? I'm built different for sure. So having some kind of a review right when you're going to bed can be really powerful to enhancing the sleep experience. So look, guys, here's the thing. I could tell you about this, and you could do days and days of training in the daytime. And even I instinctually know this stuff. Like, I know what you need to do for a good memory, and I know what should be done when you're going to sleep. But knowing and doing are completely different things, right? Don't we all know that we should be walking 10,000 steps a day, and that we should be lifting weights and eating spirulina, and there's all kinds of things we know we should do, but we don't do them. Oftentimes, that's really just down to, when it comes down to it, it's what's the easiest, what's the quickest button you can press in that moment. That's a big reason why in my house where I live right now, I have a home gym in my backyard. I have gym equipment all over my house. Sometimes my wife is like, can we move this somewhere else? I'm like, no, this makes us use it. Because if we don't have this here, we pick, hey, let's have a banana, or let's eat gummy candy, or like multivitamin gummies, or watch TV, right? So it's what's accessible to you in that moment. That is what will be done. Humans are very much follow the path of least resistance, and doing a process to go to sleep, to retain memory, to review your day, and to sleep really, really good can oftentimes go non-done. It just doesn't get done. That's why things like VNS technology can be so good, because one of the things we do in our programs with our phase 1 clients and phase 2 clients is we always encourage them, when they start doing VNS, is to keep their vagus nerve stimulator device right in their bedroom, next to their bed, so that they can plug it in and turn it on and stimulate. And then once they're done, unplug it, set it to the side, wipe off their ultrasound gel, and then within 15 minutes, they're like, they're like in deep sleep land, right? So that's, again, it's physically, it's in their vicinity. They know how to do it, and they do it. And then that's how they get the results. So yes, are there ways to stimulate your vagus nerve? Absolutely. Could you rub your ears and, massage your chakra points? Could you do a spiritual incantation right before bed? Yes. Do most people do this? No, they don't. What I found, one of the biggest hacks to this behavioral change that I learned from a coach years ago, back in 2016, this was like 7 years ago, was to make an audio recording, like a voice recording on your phone, of affirmations that you read from a document, and then play the affirmations back to yourself throughout the day. This starts to implant in your mind positive or empowered thinking patterns, because short of having that input in your brain, it's like humans, as much as I love humans, we tend to revert to the sludge, the blah, blah, if we're not careful, right? Just like the muck of the swamp, essentially. So having systems that are at the push of a button can start playing music, aspirational, empowering affirmations, instructions, etc., breathing prompts, this kind of stuff, is a huge hack for behavioral modification. Behavioral modification that you want to have done, not what the algorithm wants you to do. Because as much as I could probably myself upload some hip video to YouTube, like, here's the 5 tricks and tips to stimulating your vagus nerve. I don't want people having to open up their YouTube app to then watch the video, to then get exposed to a bunch of other garbage at the same time. There's a lot of just muck on there too. So I'm like, how do we get the good stuff removed from phones and put them onto external devices that are Bluetooth disconnected, not Wi-Fi connected? I don't want there to be a GPS facial tracking device in everything that you have to use to stimulate your vagus nerve, right? Even the ultrasounds that we use, they're intentionally selected, they're intentionally provided because they don't require an app to make them work. You don't need to put a card into them. You don't need to load a code into these things. You don't need to connect to our software for these devices to work. They're always going to just work. There's just, again, keep your phone in a different part of your house, but do the things that are good for you, right? So this little device really fits that bill very well. You basically have the MP3 on it. You hold the middle button right here, the power button, and it'll turn on.
SD card mode.
And then it'll say SD card mode, and then it will literally start playing. I don't know if you can hear this. It will literally start playing the music. Now I might get in trouble from... It's pretty low right now. Let me see. Yeah, so sorry for the volume there, but it is playing music. So it starts off playing music. So this is really, really key. Now, if I click the button, I can pause it. If I double tap the plus, it will automatically turn off after 60 minutes. So you have the option. If you want it to play throughout the night, that's what I usually do. Or you can have it just play once and then automatically turn off completely. Zero output, totally off. No EMF going into your head. That's what I love about this, is that there's no nothing, there's no bells and whistles that aren't serving you. Because all those additional features and bells and whistles that they add, oh, it's got Bluetooth Super 5.1 pairing. I'm like, that only makes me more uncomfortable, right? I'm not trying to have Bluetooth in my head. Some of these devices that are attempting to do something good are these facial wraps with a Bluetooth device right in here. None of those devices have the ability to load the MP3 on it and disconnect. A lot of those devices that are out there that people are buying are strictly required to be paired to an app on your phone and stream data back and forth throughout the entire night, right? I hate that, right? I just don't like that thing. So I had to look around really hard, high and low, and try different options to try and find something that you could turn off the Bluetooth, be in only SD card mode, just so it plays the MP3 on the device. So you're really just free and abstracted from it. So yeah, this is definitely talked a lot about this. This is what that is. This is the sleep audio for enhanced results for VNS. Partially, the other reason it works is that it's a specific flat. It's not a speaker. It's actually a haptic vibration plate that actually only works if you have a pillow touching it. And the cool thing is, if you think of a huge pillow, let's say your ear is here, but the device is over on the other side of the pillow, it turns your pillow into a slow, like a little vibrating device. That actually not tickles, but it does. You can feel the music like going through your ear in a really nice way. And that's the music that I selected for this. So it does have vagus nerve stimulation properties through auricular stimulation through this. So it's a unique device. I really like it, and I just have it plugged in throughout the day to charge. I unplug it. It's all wireless, Bluetooth free, SD card MP3 mode only. And the audio file that I've uploaded and remastered is available to download. I am not charging anything for this. The only cost is you getting this device, which sometimes goes on a little bit of a discount, but for a couple bucks off. But generally speaking, you can find this on Amazon. This is the specific one that I recommend. It's really small. I took this on my trip to San Diego when I was in a hotel. I don't sleep great. Guys, if I know that I have to give a speech in front of hundreds of people, like peers, colleagues, that's recorded for the internet to see forever, I get nervous as hell, okay? I still deal with, throughout my entire life, every night before a flight or before an event or something big, I just have such a difficult time going to sleep. Literally. I just stay up in bed, just like thinking, ruminating, thinking through it. And I used this for that trip before the day of the flight because I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. I had to drive to Seattle. I had to like flight into San Diego during a hurricane. There was some anxiety there, but I played this. I was out within 15, 20 minutes just from this, from what's on this audio, what's on this device. It is amazing. Now, I don't make this device. I don't want to say it's just a device you can get on Amazon. I don't have any association with the company. It's really an unbranded white and gray, very unassuming device. It's so small. I fit it into my backpack, carried it on with me, took it to my hotel, and I think it was it Saturday night and Sunday night in this hotel, and I was able to put it under the pillow and again, go to sleep. I don't do so well traveling and not sleeping. Okay, I have a problem with traveling and sleeping in random hotels. I just cannot get to sleep. This was a lifesaver for me on traveling. Now, most of you watching, you're probably not doing a lot of maybe you aren't doing a lot of traveling, maybe you are. This is a lifesaver. This will go with me anytime I'm traveling, and this stays with me at home. I love this kind of stuff. This is the kind of hack that goes against the whole Facebook Marketplace, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Nobody's going to launch this on Indiegogo, guys. You're not going to see a Facebook ad for this kind of thing, right? Nobody's making a lot of money off of this, but it does enhance quality of life. You just got to consider, right? So let me get to this, Nicole. I see your question. So I'm just going to post the link here in the comment. We're almost at the conclusion of this video. I just don't want to get in the, I have the link on my computer. I just want to copy paste it here. So there is a document that I will post that lays out everything you need to know, everything that I spoke about. I wrote it myself. I personally hand wrote about a 4-page document. You guys, I know you can read 4 pages of content. It's very easy. Okay. So that's what I'm going to share here in a moment. But let's just kind of keep on with it. And I will absolutely, Nicole, I see your question and I will get to that. But I just want to make sure we cover all that. So kind of getting close to the end here in terms of the primary content. Vagus nerve stimulation can undoubtedly have a positive impact on sleep quality. It is crucial to remember that VNS is not a standalone solution. There are many things that you can do to maintain a healthy brain and body, right? So you shouldn't become dependent on your vagus nerve stimulator. Things that you do in the day influence how easy you can sleep at night. So, again, that's why people get dependent on Ambien, on benzos to go to sleep, because they see it as this is the only one thing that helps me sleep. And that can be true. I totally can feel that. But if there is that in your life, if you're I have to take tons of melatonin, kava root just to be able to go to sleep, then consider this a drug-free audio-based option instead of that. Round out you should have a toolbox of many different options that do facilitate good sleep. Experiment, find things that work. I don't expect 100% of people who try this will absolutely love it, but I know probably 80% of the people who do use this will be holy shit, this is amazing. It is really amazing. It's a very unique, novel thing. I'm a bit of an inventor myself. So anyway, 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night is crucial. So try to aim for that. Constantly allowing yourself sufficient time for restorative sleep can support the overall effectiveness as well of VNS technology. And it's, so you can enjoy its long-term benefits, right? So we don't want you to become addicted zombies to anything at all, especially not VNS. Okay, so in conclusion, understanding the impact of vagus nerve stimulation on sleep quality can be a game changer for those who have challenges with their sleep. With the ability to track heart rate variability and sleep quality from a range of consumer devices today, such as the Oura Ring, the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, and many other devices that you can find today commonly on Amazon at a range of different prices, I do believe that most people should incorporate some level of tracking at some stage in their health learning journey. I think that is important. If you do stimulate, you can typically see some pretty clear-cut improvements in HRV, sleep quality, deep sleep, REM sleep levels post using something like a VNS stimulation device or something that does actively engage the parasympathetic system before bed. And that could even be the Valsalva squeeze. I mentioned humming before bed. Humming yourself to sleep through classical music can facilitate better sleep. Notice I'm not mentioning any drug-based interventions. I don't think you should be dropping pills to go to sleep, ideally, right? If you are in that, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that we just have enough data at this point in time to know that it's just not optimal. So doing things like Valsalva squeezing, the sleep audio that I mentioned, individuals can enhance the additional effects of VNS as well to get better sleep. Prioritizing adequate sleep is vital for maintaining optimal health and reaping the full benefits of a healthy vagus nerve. Okay? So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to share my, journey of how this came to be. Something that I started from me being an insomniac as a child, as a preteen at my 10 and 11 years and 12 years, investing in a mega memory program, and that culminating here in my 30s now to creating a sleep audio that does really effectively get you to sleep. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. So there's a lot of backstory to how this developed. I'm not claiming spontaneous anything. This is a work in progress over many, many years. It's helped me a lot. I'm really excited to share this particularly with everybody here. So let me now grab the link to it. I have it here. I'm going to put that here in the chat. Here is the guide on the sleep. Now I've given people this individually as well. If you've asked me, if you've messaged me or said sleep in some of the comments through the Facebook group, I think I've sent this out to close to 200 people now that have individually requested this. This is the document that I am sending out. It's hosted on Google Doc. It's just my own personal Google account. It's a publicly accessible, basically PDF that you can scroll through. It's got embedded links to the MP3. It's got pictures. It's got explanation. It's got the link to the device and all the instructions you need to get this working. Very simple. If you get that done, look, when I was 10, I went through the work of finding out how to buy a 10 tape cassette system through an 800 phone number, use a credit card, purchase it, spend $169, study it, which took me about 15 hours to listen through it and practice it, and then go in front of my class in middle school in 6th, 7th grade in middle school and show off this skill a month later after I'd learned it, right? So this was put to the test, and I've utilized this for years and years since. And I do believe that skill set has enabled me to create a pretty substantial library of knowledge on many different subjects. So the kind of stuff in this sleep hypnosis is not just surface level. It's not hypnosis in the traditional sense. There's nothing trance-inducing. It's not an induction so much. It may say there's kind of an induction. The induction is, let's review your day using the memory device, and it's all guided through there, right? With music, with a soft voice. I'm not barking orders at you. I'm not okay, are you ready to go to sleep? No, it's okay, well, welcome and congratulations on making the decision to go to sleep. Here we go. We're going to start with our mnemonic memory system. As we all know so well, it goes from 1 to 10. And we're going to review the day from the very first thing you did to the very last thing you did to integrate that so you can take what you learned from the day and take what was important and store that for long-term memory to process it through your dreams and to release anything that wasn't vital or crucial for your life. Okay? So here we go. That's the extent of the hypnotic induction. I'm not like, now you're getting really sleepy and it's nothing like that, right? It's just pretty standard stuff. I'm a pretty standard meat and potato guy here. So, but yeah, that is the document. Highly recommend you check that out. It is pretty fantastic. Also, I do want to share that over on YouTube as well, because we do have a lot of people watch on YouTube, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of comments. Where's the link? Where's the link? How do I see it? There you go. It's in the chat there. All right. Thanks, YouTube. I'm going to wrap it up here for you guys. I'll see you again tomorrow, and have a great rest of your day. Don't drink and drive, you guys. Even though it's the weekend, don't do it. Call yourself an Uber or a taxi or something like that. Okay. All right. See you. Bye-bye. I don't know if that's a problem for those guys on YouTube.